I came back home for Christmas, like I always did. Only this time, the house felt hollow, quiet, except for Grandma sitting at the table, slowly working through some leftovers. There was a note waiting for me, simple and brutal. They'd taken the $8,500 I loaned them, and used it on a family cruise. "Take care of her," it said. Grandma looked up from her plate and told me gently, "We'll make this right." I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. A few days later, they were already calling and texting, asking for things. I didn't answer. Didn't even bother knocking. It was their house, sure, but one I'd pretty much paid for. I was supposed to be there for Christmas, just like I'd promised. Like I always had. But when I walked through that front door, the warmth I was expecting wasn't there. The cheer was gone. The tree was on, lights twinkling half-heartedly. That cheap plastic star on top blinked like it knew it messed up and was trying to apologize. But the silence? It was loud. No happy chatter. No rustling of wrapping paper. Not a hint of cinnamon or burnt cookies in the air. Just the soft sound of a fork tapping against a plate. "Hello?" I called out, stepping inside carefully. "In here, sweetheart," a voice called back from the kitchen. It was low, worn out. I turned the corner, and there she was, Grandma. Sitting alone in her knitted purple sweater, staring down at a plate of cold stuffing and half-eaten ham. I stood there for a second, trying to make sense of it. "Where is everybody?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just smiled at me sadly, her gums bare, and slid a piece of paper across the table. Her hands were shaking as she pushed it toward me. It wasn't even in an envelope. Just a ripped-out sheet of notebook paper with my name scrawled across it in thick black ink. It read, "Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're away. Love, Mom." I stared at it for a while. I couldn't speak. My brain just stopped at loan and cruise. That money was supposed to cover my dental surgery. I'd been saving for that for over a year. Grandma kept her eyes on me, watching like I was a live wire about to snap. Didn't say much. Just sat there with a napkin in her lap, folded and refolded in her hands. I guess they figured you wouldn't mind," she finally said in a quiet voice. "They left yesterday." I sank into the nearest chair. It was as cold as the rest of the room. No call. No heads up. Just took off with my money and left her behind like a piece of old furniture. I whispered it out loud. Grandma gave this dry little laugh. "Oh, honey," she said. "You know the only time they call is when they want something." I nodded slowly, fists tightening under the table. This wasn't anything new, it was just louder this time. More obvious. Grandma took a tiny sip of orange juice, looked straight at me, and said, "We'll fix this." I didn't answer. But inside me, something cracked. And in the space where sadness used to live, something colder began to settle in. That night, Grandma said she was tired. Her hips had done all the waiting they could handle. She kissed my cheek, gave my arm a little pat, and whispered, "You were always the one who stayed kind." Then she shuffled off with her usual limp, the one she got after falling down the stairs a couple winters back. No one ever bothered to get her to rehab after that. I stayed up for hours. Just me, in that house. No TV. No lights. Just that note on the table. That damn note. The so-called loan. My money. The money I'd worked my tail off to save. Night shifts. Holidays. Weekends. Driving Uber. Taking on random freelance gigs. Skipping meals to make rent. Skipping sleep just to meet deadlines. $8,500, gone in the blink of an eye. And what did they spend it on? A cruise. I opened up the family group chat, dead silence. Not even a Merry Christmas. I scrolled up. The last message from Mom was from back in November. "Don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account," it said. "We need to book before prices go up." A loan. They never once called it a gift, and that's because they knew it wasn't one. I could still hear Mom's voice when she first pitched the whole thing. "It's just a short-term loan," she'd said. "We'll pay you back by February latest. You can always move your dental appointment." And of course I nodded. That's what I always did. When they needed money for Jacob's tuition, I nodded. When Dad got into trouble with gambling, I nodded. When Kelly needed rent after quitting her job because her boss hurt her feelings, I nodded again. I always nodded, because if I didn't, I was selfish, unhelpful, ungrateful. Because, you know, family comes first. After everything we've done for you. Done for me? They kicked me out at 17 for refusing to lie when Jacob stole Grandma's pain meds. Didn't even show up to my college graduation, said they were too busy helping Emily move in with her boyfriend. Forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. But the second they needed money? Oh, suddenly I was family again. By the time the sun came up, I had answers. They weren't just on some cruise. They were sailing on the Aurora, a luxury ship doing a 10-day spin through the Caribbean. Real classy stuff. Deck suites. Personal butlers. Infinity pool access. High-end meals. $3,000 a head. 4 of them. I know because Emily posted a picture on Instagram. Guess she forgot to block me from that one. There they were, all 4 of them in white bathrobes, clinking champagne glasses. The caption? "Finally some peace, away from all the leeches and negativity." Leeches. I actually laughed. Like, full out loud. They spent my money, ditched Grandma with cold food, and had the nerve to call me a leech. That's when the last wire in me snapped. I wasn't sad anymore. Wasn't mad either. I was locked in. Focused. That evening, Grandma found me in the garage. I was buried in paperwork, flipping through the old filing cabinet Dad never bothered to organize. She didn't say a word. Just stood there, watching me comb through years of bills and receipts and secrets. "I need the full picture," I told her. "Where the money went. What they did. Who helped." She sat down next to me, pulled out this old beat-up notebook, and started thumbing through it. "Let's start with 2016, she said. "That's when your mom first got into my pension account." By midnight we had numbers. By the next day, we had a plan. They rolled back into the driveway like they were royalty. The same folks who left us behind with a note and a fridge full of spoiled coleslaw were now waltzing in like returning heroes. Their laughter came through the door before they did. Emily was first, dragging some fancy suitcase, hair braided with ribbons, nails shining fresh from the salon. "Ugh, so glad to be home," she groaned. "That last dinner gave me hives." Behind her, Mom glided in like she was the villain in a soap opera, sunglasses still on, even inside. "Did you even bother to tidy up?" she asked, stepping right over Grandma's shawl like it was a pile of trash. Dad came next, red-faced, bloated from 10 days of buffet gluttony. He grunted when he saw me. "Oh, you're still here?" Jacob walked in last. Didn't even look at Grandma. Just dropped his bags and flopped onto the couch. I didn't say a word. I was already sitting at the table, hands folded neatly, calm as ever. "Where's the food?" Mom asked, looking around like this was still her house. "In the fridge," I told her. "Still plenty of that ham you left behind." Jacob let out this little laugh. "Still going on about that?" he muttered. "Dude, just order some takeout." He leaned back like it was no big deal. "It's not like you're broke." I stood up slowly, took a deep breath, and looked around the room. "Glad you're all here," I said. "Take a seat. I've got something to show you." Jacob rolled his eyes but dropped into a chair like a sulking teenager. Dad cracked his knuckles and leaned back like he was gearing up for a poker game. Emily didn't even look up, she was too busy searching for an outlet to charge her phone. I turned the laptop screen toward them and hit play. First up was a spreadsheet. But not just any spreadsheet, this was a full-blown financial audit. Grandma and I had spent 4 solid days putting it together. Line by line, it showed every dollar that had vanished from her pension. Every shady ATM withdrawal tied to gas stations Dad always used. Every so-called emergency Zelle transfer Emily requested. Turns out, those emergencies looked a lot like Sephora splurges and Apple Store receipts. "Where'd you get this?" Mom asked, her voice suddenly tight, her mouth pulling into that thin line I'd seen too many times before. "From her bank," I said. "You might want to be a little more careful when you're using someone else's password." Then came the second video. Screenshots. Venmo transfers. Login timestamps tied to Mom's phone. Pension access points that lined up perfectly with Dad's usual online gambling hours. And then emails. I watched Mom's face as one loaded, her, writing to Emily. "He won't notice the cruise deposit missing. He trusts us too much." Then Emily's reply, "He's a softie. Plus, who even leaves Grandma alone on Christmas anyway?" My jaw tightened, but I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. "I could end this here," I said, voice even. "But I'm not going to." One more file. I clicked it. Audio played. Kelly, Jacob's wife, standing on our porch just 2 nights ago. Her voice was shaky, wrecked. "I didn't want to go," she sobbed. "I begged him. But Jacob said if you didn't give the money, they'd just leave her and deal with it later. I only stayed quiet because he said it'd blow over. I'm sorry." Jacob sprang out of his chair like it burned him. "You recorded my wife? That's illegal." "No," I said. "She asked me to. She said she was tired of covering for you. Tired of watching you bleed everyone dry." Dad stood too, his face purple-red. "You little snake," he growled. "Digging through our accounts like someone who's done being robbed." I snapped, cutting him off. Then I opened the final tab. An email. Already drafted. Subject line, "Formal report of elder financial abuse, evidence attached." The recipients? Social Security Fraud Division. Grandma's attorney. The county ombudsman. 2 local news desks. "You've got 48 hours," I said, steady and calm, "to return every penny. Or I send this. All of it." Emily's hands were trembling. "You're bluffing," she said, trying to sound confident but coming up short. "You'd destroy your own family?" "No," I said quietly. "You did that. I'm just sending the invoice." That's when Grandma finally stood. She hadn't said a word through the whole thing, but now she walked slowly to the head of the table. Her hand gripped the back of a chair. Her voice didn't rise, but it didn't need to. "I raised 3 of you," she said. "Fed you. Changed your diapers. Fought for you when you were sick, scared, stupid. And when I couldn't even walk, you left me here with frozen beans and moldy pie, while you sipped champagne on stolen money." She looked them each in the eye. "You're lucky it's him coming after you. Because if it were just me—" She didn't finish. But she didn't have to. The silence that followed was louder than anything she could have shouted. Dad muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Emily started crying and went to hug Grandma, who turned her shoulder and stepped away. Jacob just stood there glaring at me. "You're not family anymore," he hissed. I smiled. "No. I'm finally free." And even then, they didn't believe I'd go through with it. Thought I was bluffing. Thought they could guilt me down, wear me out, spin their stories just like always. But the version of me that used to nod along, hand over the money, say, "Thank you," for table scraps. He died the moment they spent $8,500 of my savings on poolside cocktails and shrimp buffets. The first day passed in silence. No calls. No messages. Not even a guilt trip. Just me and Grandma in a too-quiet house, sharing microwave oatmeal and checking the bank account on repeat. Still nothing. Day 2? I sent the email. Every file. Every screenshot. Every recording. All neatly labeled, attached, and forwarded, to the state, to Grandma's lawyer, to reporters in every nearby county. At 6:13 p.m., I got the first response. "Thank you for your submission. A case has been opened." Day 3? It blew up. Jacob panicked first. I woke up to 12 missed calls, a stack of texts ranging from, "We didn't mean it like that," to, "You're seriously gonna wreck your whole family over some money?" Then Mom chimed in with her classic move. "You're being emotional. Please take the post down. We'll talk." I didn't answer a word. Just forwarded everything to Natalie, my attorney. She'd been working with Grandma's lawyer since the night Kelly stood on our porch. By noon, Natalie sent out letters of intent to sue, one each to Mom, Dad, Jacob, and Emily. She didn't blink. And she wasn't bluffing. The charges? Elder financial abuse. Unauthorized access to protected accounts. Misappropriation of family loans. The bill? $14,322.85, with interest and legal damages. That night, Mom showed up at the door. She looked like a ghost, no makeup, hair pulled back like she got dressed in the dark. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice trembling. I crossed my arms. "Only if you brought a checkbook." She dug into her purse and handed me a white envelope. Inside? A cashier's check. $8,500. My original loan. "No interest?" I asked. "You're lucky to get that," she snapped. "This mess is destroying us." "You created it," I said. "And now I'm finally turning my back on a thief." Then I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. Later that week, Emily called me, from her work phone. She was sobbing. The article had gone viral. Title: Family Steals Disabled Grandmother's Pension, Abandons Her on Christmas, Grandson Fights Back. 42,000 shares overnight. Her employer, a boutique marketing firm, wasn't amused. Her name was in every screenshot. Her message about leeches and negativity had become a meme. "I'm getting fired," she screamed. "Do you even realize what you've done?" "Sure do," I said. "Now return the favor. Pay your share." She did. In 4 bitter installments. I made her send proof every single time. No shortcuts. Jacob was the last one standing. At first, he acted untouchable. Here's the next section, rewritten with altered sentence structure, vocabulary variety, a slightly more conversational tone, and a first-person American male narrative voice. "My boss doesn't care," Jacob bragged online, acting like it was all some kind of joke. "It's fake anyway." But then Kelly left him. She filed for separation. Told him she wasn't about to raise her kids in a house where lies and theft were just another part of the wallpaper. That same day, she called me. "I'm sorry it took me this long," she said softly. "But I see who he really is now." I asked if she needed help finding a place. There was a pause. Then she said, "Only if there are no strings." I smiled. "Then yeah. Because you finally did the right thing." 2 days later, Jacob showed up at my door. He looked like hell, scruffy, sunken-eyed, pacing like a caged dog. "You're a fool," he growled, voice low and shaking. "You ruined everything." I didn't even blink. Just handed him the legal notice. "No," I said. "You did." Natalie had just filed a motion to garnish his wages. He tried tearing the letter in half and flinging it back at me. I didn't flinch. "Pay every cent," I told him. "Or we freeze your accounts." "I'm not bluffing. Ask Emily." By the end of week 2, the money was all there. Mom and Dad, $8,500. Emily, $3,100, interest included. Jacob, $2,700, borrowed from his boss, which had to sting. Total, just over $14,300. I used $3,000 to finally fix my teeth, something I'd been putting off for years. Spent another $2,000 on a lift chair and part-time nurse for Grandma. The rest went into a high-security, interest-bearing account under Grandma's name. Only she and I had access. When I showed her the paperwork, she just stared for a second. Then the tears came. "They took everything from me," she whispered. "But not you." And just like that, it hit me. I didn't just win the money back. I didn't just win the legal fight. I got me back. The version of myself who used to walk around with his head down, carrying guilt and silence like a second skin, that guy was gone. And I stood up straighter than I had in years. The calls stopped. And for the first time in my life, silence didn't feel like a threat. It had rhythm. It had breath. It was peace. Not shame, not guilt. Just stillness, surgical and clean. The money was safe. The house was calm. Grandma finally slept through the night without waking in fear that someone would sneak in to take what little dignity she had left. And me? I was becoming a man they couldn't bend anymore. In the weeks that followed, I didn't just reclaim dollars, I reclaimed hours. I quit the soul-sucking job. Landed a remote gig that paid better and gave me my time back. One afternoon, I took Grandma to her favorite diner, some rundown place with cracked vinyl booths and checkerboard floors. The coffee was awful. She ordered fries and dipped them in a strawberry milkshake. She laughed for nearly an hour straight. I hadn't seen that in 5 years. I miss this, she said. You mean your arteries miss this? I teased. She shrugged. I'd rather die laughing with you than choking on cruise ship shrimp with those snakes. Fair enough. But even peace has its ghosts. They didn't call anymore, but oh, they sure talked. Emily lit up Facebook with cryptic posts about people who don't understand forgiveness, paired with artsy shots of candles in church. Mom whispered to extended family that I was manipulating Grandma, leaving out the part where she drained Grandma's pension to pay off her liposuction. And Jacob? Jacob went full fantasy. Made a dramatic reel with moody music and lines from Succession, acting like he was the tragic, betrayed heir to some cursed empire. The caption? Some people would rather see you fall than rise with you. I laughed so hard I nearly pulled something. Rise with you? You tried to burn me alive and danced in the ashes. They wanted to rewrite history. But I had the receipts. And I wasn't going back into the dark. The turning point came about 3 weeks later. I was grocery shopping with Grandma, filling a cart with soup cans and ginger ale, when a well-dressed older woman approached us. She looked familiar somehow. I'm sorry, she said, eyes locked on mine. Are you the one from the article? I tensed. She smiled. The one who saved his grandmother? I blinked. I guess. Yeah. She looked at Grandma, then back at me. I just wanted to say thank you. For standing up. For not staying silent. Then she added, quieter now. My mother, something similar happened. But no one fought for her. I wish someone had. She touched my arm, gentle and quick, and walked away. I turned to Grandma. She hadn't moved. One hand rested on a can of soup, the other slowly rising to wipe her eyes. I didn't think anyone saw us, she whispered. They do now, I said. And that's when it really sunk in. This whole thing, it was never just about the money. Or proving I wasn't the loser of the family. It was about saying the truth out loud. Finally. And not apologizing for it. Best part? I was done defending myself. I didn't need to scream anymore. The truth was out there, doing its work, dragging their names behind it like a garbage bag ripped open in the street. Every post they made? Someone was in the comments reminding the world who they really were. Mom tried launching a YouTube cooking channel, Cozy Kitchen with Carla. First episode, someone commented, "Did you pay for that oven with stolen retirement funds?" She shut it down in 2 days. Jacob tried applying for a new job. Didn't even get past the background check? Garnishment orders tend to spook employers. Oops. Emily vanished for a bit, then popped back up with a new Instagram handle at m_life_reset. Yoga poses. Quotes about growth. Healing. You know the type. She went around telling everyone she was cutting out toxic people. That part killed me. Because I didn't cut Emily out. I exiled her. Months rolled by. I moved into a new place, quiet, clean, nothing fancy. Just 2 bedrooms and a kitchen that didn't carry ghosts in the cabinets. Everything inside? Stuff I picked out myself. Second-hand furniture that felt like mine because I chose it. No ugly beige couches they forced on me. No dining table where fake smiles were passed around like mashed potatoes. And I brought Grandma with me. She got her own room. I got mine. She filled hers with old photo frames, tiny figurines, and this weird but warm blanket she crocheted back in '93. She called her room the fort. Said it made her feel safe again. One evening, she knocked on my door. Moved slow, sat on the edge of my bed like she was settling in for a story. "I have a question," she said. "When you found that note, the one they left, why didn't you just leave? Why'd you stay?" I sat with that for a second. Then I said, "Because I remembered who I was before they convinced me I wasn't worth remembering." She just looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." That hit me harder than any cruel word they ever flung at my back. Because she meant it. And because nobody else in that family ever had. A few weeks later, I bumped into Kelly outside a coffee shop. She looked different. Not just better, lighter. Like someone who just set down a heavy bag she didn't realize she'd been carrying for years. She told me she was taking night classes. Working toward a certification. Building something that was hers. "I didn't know I could live like this," she said. "Without being scared of what he'd do next. You gave me that." I didn't know what to say. Then she stepped in closer and added, "You didn't just change your life, you know? You changed mine too." I nodded. Quietly. And maybe, for the first time, I actually believed it. So here's my ending. You want to know what happened to the family? They burned down their own reputation trying to torch mine. You want to know what happened to me? I stopped waiting for them to call me family. And I started building one, with people who never made me beg for love. And now? Now I sleep. Really sleep. All the lights off. Doors unlocked. No knots in my chest, no fear of what might be taken next. Because they already took everything. And I took it back.